Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here. Are you tired of sales boot camp like training and formal sales training that's going to take you and show you every pitch and every technique you could use for presentation? In the six-figure selling system, this is not a sales boot camp. And one of the things that I want to cover is basically that the system is so simple. It's very, very, very easy to grasp, because what it does is it basically helps you focus your mind on the concept of dealing with people. How to be much more dynamic, because it's this simple. The stronger the opening you have with the person, the stronger the close. It's a very simple formula. But let me explain this. Years ago, when I was in my first year of sales training, where I became a sales trainer, I interviewed about 10 of the existing sales reps. I found out what their complaints were, and also what the complaints of the customers were. A lot of it had to do with shipping and timing. Very, very few of the complaints were based on billing. It was based on the concept that shipping is promised, and they'll say things like they do this on online orders. They'll say, it'll take 3 days, but what they mean is it won't ship for 3 days. So it was a situation like that. So I decided I was going to do something about it. Not realizing that I was overstepping my position, I called the CEO of the company. And because I learned this from a very, very popular sales trainer in a seminar that I took from him, and I bought a series of his recordings, which equaled about 20 hours of training. And I called the CEO, and I asked him if I could have a meeting with him, and he basically told me his calendar was booked from 8 o'clock in the morning until practically midnight. So I used a technique which, again, I was taught how to do it, and I asked him, I said, what do you do for breakfast? I asked him what town he lived in, and I mentioned that there's a nearby hotel that has a wonderful restaurant. Could I please take him to breakfast so I could have at least 10, 15 minutes with him, because I want to share with him, and here was the pitch, how to improve the sales team so that the effectiveness of people out on the street selling to customers one-on-one would be higher, faster, and more profitable. But I told him I needed to speak to him because he's the man in charge. And basically it was like meeting with Lee Iacocca at the time. It was like meeting with the president of a major company. Like, it would be like meeting with Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. But anyway, he agreed. I couldn't believe it, but he actually said, okay. So we set up a time for 6 a.m. at this restaurant. And I met with this guy. And of course, I was dressed in my best suit and tie. And so was he. And we sat down. And basically, as they took our orders and we had coffee, etc., I said to him, his name was, I think his last name was Roderick, but his first name was Richard. So I basically looked at him and I said, Richard, which is kind of like, again, I didn't know what I was doing, but it was okay. He was okay with it. I said, I really want to cover something with you because as a sales trainer, I think the corporation is missing. There's a missing link between the people out on the streets and the fulfillment and the people who expedite fulfillment inside the corporation. And I'd like to improve that since I'm doing training and show you where it's going to increase your profit margin. And he said, okay, go ahead. So I gave him my pitch, which was very short. And what did he do? What a CEO would do. I'm going to assign you one of my vice presidents to work with you personally, and he's going to go and work with you for the day, and you show him exactly what you're talking about. So the guy met with me. I drove him to my first account. And when I introduced him, I don't remember his name, but I said, he is the vice president of sales for my corporation. And the customer looked at him and he goes, you're the vice president of sales? He goes, let me tell you something. And then he started to tell him the complaint that I had brought to the company president. Okay. So he heard it firsthand from a customer. And I said, now listen, I didn't set you up, did I? And he said, no. But there is one very interesting thing about selling because of the fact that you got to remember, you're in a position where inflation shouldn't bother you because you can always sell more and make more and give yourself a raise. That's the idea. And if you're not in a company or you're not in a position to do that, you're in the wrong business. Change businesses. And it's okay to do that. I myself tried many different businesses just to see what it was like and learn other techniques. And then eventually over the years, I settled with one company where I stayed for many years until I retired from that company and was hired away by another company where I stayed another 15 years. But here's what you want to think about if you want to be successful. You want to think that there's principles that I'm going to teach in the six-figure selling system that are not principles that you can easily grasp without a great deal of explanation. And in this session, I don't have enough time for that. So when you join me, I will cover that for you. But what it means is it means basically the law of attraction. What you think about and what you concentrate on is what you're going to attract. And don't be afraid to focus on it, because once you get your own method in place and you see that it starts to work, you develop what is called an immersive concentration. In other words, your concentration and focusing on every sale that you're making is part of the whole persona of you, and it's all part of your mindset, and you grasp it and it becomes natural, second nature, and you don't have to look for any further lessons. You know what to do and you know how to do it. It's like when you talk to your customers, how do you make an impact on them and get their attention so that you know they don't want to go to your competitor? There's ways to do that. We'll cover things like that. And also in the six-figure selling system, you're going to learn some of the techniques that are never prescribed because people don't even know about them. The top salespeople use these techniques, and they taught them to me, and I want to share them with you. So in the six-figure selling system, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that you have a well-rounded education of how to do something simply. So simple a child could learn to do it. And basically, even though I might be repeating myself, we're going to cover immersive concentration. So that means that you're not really learning pitches. You don't have to do a lot of memorization. I don't have charts for you that you have to look at and decide where you fit on the chart and where to apply the next customer on the chart. It's not like that at all. It's basically taking you with the way that you work and what makes you happy, the way that you talk and communicate with people, and turning that into your best selling advantage. Remember that, your best selling advantage by being you. We're called the six-figure selling system, and you're going to join me in my workshop, and I'll explain everything I can, and then we go further from there because I offer consultation and a few other things, a couple other perks, extra bonuses. And once you get the hang of this, and believe me, this is not a get-rich-quick, this is not overnight. The reason I'm using it as the six-figure selling system is because you want to hit six figures because that's the first step before you hit seven figures. But the average salesperson in almost any job in Canada, United States, the UK, Ireland, Australia, they make an average of US dollars about 60 to 65,000. That's a 5-figure income. And when you look at that and you say, okay, fine, now that's enough money for me, but is it really? Not with inflation and rising costs. And I know when I was raising my family and my kids were small and I needed extra money for things like childcare and extra medical expenses and clothes and things like that, I just had to work a little bit harder. And I did that. At one point, I worked one sales job and then I consulted on a different sales job for a different company just to get my feet in the circle and keep everything going, keep the momentum going. Because if there's one word of caution, which is also a good word of advice, words of wisdom, is just keep working at it. Keep working at it. When you continue to work, no matter how much you are opposed or how many odds you're up against, you keep working at it, you will succeed. I know for myself, I put together a project, and part of what I teach is basically how to sell a project that you've created. I worked with a partner, and we put together a project that was very lofty, and that was to take a completely unknown musical group and sell them to a record company to press a record and release it and promote it. And everybody said this is going to be a difficult task, and it was, because rejection, I mean, you have no idea from rejection if you don't know about rejection. Rejection isn't a person telling you they don't like you. What rejection is a person who has an indifference to what you're selling. They're just not interested, period. So you don't take it personally, because your job is not to be persuasive to the point where a person is thinking A and you switch them over to B, C, or D. No, that's not what it is. It's convincing people to say yes, that they do, in fact, have a desire for your product. So when I was doing this, we financed and we monetized our own company, and we started to record this record. And during the process, which took a couple of years, people were coming out of the woodwork telling me that I am a complete idiot, that I was a failure, and I wasn't going to sell the record because I had no idea what I was doing, because I had no skin in the game, because nobody knows this group and nobody knows me. Okay, guess what? I didn't care what they said, because I told them, look, I have thousands of dollars in this. So if I listen to you, I'm giving away thousands of dollars. I'm just throwing it away because of your opinion. Now, who are you to tell me this? And it was a person that read a book and decided that now they know everything because they read a book. And I said, well, practically, what have you done that's so fantastic? And they didn't have anything. And I said, so I'll tell you what. You hold on to your opinion, I'll hold on to mine. Well, without any luck, but nothing but perseverance and working hard and going back and never quitting. Remember those two words, never quitting. Never quitting. Never quit. Like Winston Churchill said, never give up. Within a month after that incident happened, not only did I sell the record project, but it went on to get national distribution with great sales for an unknown group, and ended up getting a Grammy nomination, which is basically an award in the music industry for people of note. You can think of all the great names that won Grammy awards. You could name everybody from the Beatles to Michael Jackson to Pink Floyd. You can mention Tina Turner. I could go on with LL Cool J, whoever won the Grammys. There are so many artists that did this. And yet, somewhere, somebody had to sell that artist. Now, that could be you. There's people that are actual art dealers that buy independent art. And some artist somewhere has to learn to sell. People who write screenplays, people who write books, people who start their own mobile grooming business for animals and pets, people who come up with original ideas and they take it to, like, Shark Tank, for example. They're in a selling position. They could use everything that is taught in the program I put together called the Six-Figure Selling System. So please join me there, and I will see you then.